I'm Richard Cuff, and this is the PS Factor. Thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode, and this is a great conversation. My guest today is Dr. Steve Barsky. He's a psychotherapist, and Dr. Barsky, before we started rolling, we're talking about specifically the horror of hearing about Stephen Twitch Boss and his death by suicide, and the mere fact that African-American males are really far less stigmatized than in the past, but certainly there is a stigma to seeking psychotherapy. Let's talk about what it is that you do and how that African-American male, like myself, could really benefit.
Okay. Well, I'm an individual psychotherapist. I have my own office. I'm also a licensed marital and family therapist. I deal with couples. I deal with individuals. We deal with different situations, whether it would be family relationships, marital relationships, depression, anxiety. And to help, what I've noticed is that over the past couple of years, people are more open to the idea of psychotherapy, and they're calling and they're coming. And but I think there's still a lot of resistance in some cultures to go to therapy. Women, I think, may be more, in general, may be more prone to seek help or to be comfortable with the idea of talking to someone about their emotional issues. But I think men, it's a generalization, but to a degree, maybe less so. Mm-hmm. And African men may have probably, you can attest to it, there's certain things in the culture that may be roadblocks for them to seek therapy as well.
Well, yes, roadblocks, definitely. But it's also that there's not access. It's not something that you automatically think to do. You didn't grow up. I didn't grow up seeing my dad go to therapy.
Right, of course.
There wasn't, if there was a phone a friend, there was never, I never had a friend who was a psychotherapist, right?
Right.
So I could phone a friend to go smoke a joint. That's about it.
Right.
But you couldn't get that friend to want to talk about it. My daughter really turned the light on for me because I didn't know that when she went to Stetson University, that the school made therapists available as a part of just being there at the school, because these kids are coming from a very high performing environment.
Correct.
And they're failing all the time. They're being judged on their skills and they're being rejected all the time.
That's true.
And that has an impact.
That certainly has an impact. Has an impact on their self-esteem, has an impact on how they view themselves and others, and it inhibits probably for them to explore other things as time goes on.
Well, what my daughter said to me, I was telling her about my dad, and I said something about my dad, and I guess she had heard me talk about my dad for the umpteenth time, and she said, "Dad, have you ever thought about seeing a therapist?" And I'm like, "Oh, so what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say?" And she says, no, I'm serious. And that's when she explained to me how therapy benefits her, how she has access to it. And I think I believe that it begins with just having access. And because for the African-American male to go and seek therapy, it means I've got to, 9 times out of 10, I've got to leave my community. I've got to go somewhere where there's no resource. So what would you suggest to that person who says, okay, yeah, I need therapy, but I don't know where to begin? What would be a good beginning point besides calling someone like yourself, of course?
Well, besides, you're saying then a private individual practitioner?
Yeah, if I don't even know where to go. Where do I begin?
Well, the internet is a wonderful place. As you know, these days, you can go to Psychology Today. You can go to a website called Good Therapy, and there's multiple therapists who are advertising themselves to see people in therapy. There are mental health centers there that people can go to. So I think there's access. Some of it may be prohibitive cost-wise, but there's access. Part of the problem might be this misnomers of about therapy. You mentioned about to call a friend. Some people in the old days used to refer to therapy as rent a friend,
Yeah.
and or the other thought is, well, what's the person really going to say? Or that I don't have a major mental illness. I'm not. I wouldn't say I have a major depression or schizophrenia or bipolar. But therapy is so much more than that. And that's, you had mentioned something very important, Richard, a little prior to, which is we should be seeking mental health on a routine basis.
Yes.
Just like we seek for physical needs. The mental health part is you don't have to go see a therapist for mental illness solely. You go there for mental health. You go to talk about things, to process things, some things that you want to have a person who's objective, who is not going to say, this is what you should do or shouldn't do. We don't give advice like that. We listen and we use the frame of therapy as a process to help the person understand themselves and work through whatever conflicts that they might be having.
Suicide is certainly one of those loneliest moments in life. And
true.
I think that a major step forward was that we finally came to an agreement to create like 911. There's now 988.
That's right. That's right.
How much of a step forward do you think that is, and where we're trying to get to in this therapy conversation?
And I think it's a tremendous step forward. It seems to come on the backs to a degree of COVID, where a lot of people started having some difficulties in terms that were coming more to light because they were at home, or because that there was a lot of restrictions or difficulties in terms of economics. But they I would say that it's very important. Even in the military, it's become less of a stigma. So I guess to really say that seeking psychotherapy, seeking counseling is much more acceptable to people. So I think the 980 is a very, very great, very good number, very good sense of this is what people should be looking at. Why wait till the tragic moment to happen? Try to do it preventively.
Exactly, and I want to say if you are watching this video, or a friend has shared it with you, and you are even in the back of your mind, you're thinking, taking your own life. I want to share with you that I've been there. I have. My wife recently passed away a year ago, and she was my everything. And,
of course.
And I just thought I'd go first. And
tremendous loss.
I'm still reeling with it. And to say that the thought of taking my life never crossed my mind, I would be lying, because a whole bunch of thoughts crossed my mind. But I would always hold on to that greater thought, that I've got a greater reason to live. And I want to just appeal to those that may be watching, that if you think for any reason it's better that you take your life, please pick up the phone and call 988. And that'll get you to someone that can help you to overcome that moment. Because that's really all it is. It's just that moment in time.
That's right. It's just a moment in time. Everybody's had that one idea, fleeting idea. It's not unusual. It's more the norm. But it's not a serious intent, unless there's very significant situations, and based on a little history. If you have kind of a history of depression, a history of a trauma in your life, you're more susceptible. So whenever you have that idea, I think it's always good to call. What's the harm in calling somebody and talking to someone?
Dr. Barsky, I can tell you, I know that we could have really deep dives on so many different layers. And I thank you that you came on today to just talk about that issue of suicide, and hopefully this conversation will be a blessing to someone that's listening. Tell us, how can we get in contact with you?
I'm right on University Boulevard West. The best way to get in contact with me is 904-629-7132. Just call. That's my phone. That's my cell. I'll pick it up. I'll talk with you.
Thank you so much for hanging out
Thank
with
you.
me today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, we're going to have Dr. Barsky to come back. Guys, that puts the wraps on another episode of the PS Factor. I am Richard Cuff. Remember, if you or anyone that you know may be dealing with issues of thoughts of suicide, please pick up that phone, dial 988. That's going to get you to the help that you need. You want to get in contact with Dr. Barsky. His number is 904-629-7132. Until next time, remember, only love will reverse the hate. Take care.